Hi, welcome to Just Ask Sheri. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I've been one for 30 years, and I've been on an insulin pump for 21 years. And I'm here to help you hopefully navigate through some of the problems that I had through all of these years of being a diabetic and not having answers to questions because there was nobody there for me to ask questions to. I've been through about 6 endocrinologists, and up until about a year and a half ago, I didn't have a decent endocrinologist. I didn't have anyone to get the answers to my questions. And it was a really difficult problem. And especially because we had a very high deductible in our insurance, and getting a diabetes educator was next to impossible. Although I did have a friend who offered to give me advice for free, I didn't feel comfortable doing that, even though she was wonderful and offered. I didn't want to do that, but I did wind up asking a lot of people a lot of questions. I did a lot of research on the internet. I went through all kinds of things to find answers to my questions because I couldn't find them anywhere else. So I'm hoping that's what I'm going to be here for you. And you can hopefully follow me by looking below and liking and subscribing to my channel. And hopefully I'll be able to give you a lot of information that I couldn't find anywhere else. So up until a couple of years ago, I was on regular insurance with a high deductible, and I had to go through all kinds of different ways of finding out information. So I got a regular pump through my insurance, and I was on a Medtronic, and I liked the Medtronic for many, many years. I did not have a continuous glucometer through them, with the exception of a very small period of time. I found it to be extremely inaccurate, and so I stopped using it because it was so far removed from what my actual blood sugars were that I just found it of no value. But I did like the Medtronic pump, and I had many different versions of them over the years, and I liked it up until the last couple of changes that they had, where the pump became very, very heavy, very thick, very cumbersome. I happen to wear mine in my bra, and the last one or two had a clip that you removed to put into my bra, and it cut into my skin. And it was thick and heavy and very uncomfortable. And when I would call Medtronic and I would try to convey any kind of information, they really seemed to have no interest in my input. I actually wrote emails. I tried to get to the head of the company. You couldn't get to anybody. The salespeople didn't care. Nobody really cared. They really didn't have any interest. So I was convinced that the main people on the up and up either didn't have diabetes or they were men who wore it on their belt clip, and they couldn't have cared less about the women who didn't have a belt clip to wear it onto, or I didn't wear pants or skirts that I tucked in my shirts to, so it was not an issue, and they just couldn't have cared less. When I was coming on to Medicare at age 65, which was 2.5 years ago, at that point, I finally had the option of switching pumps, and I was told by a couple of people that I might be interested in trying the Tandem T-Slim. And I asked a lot of people, I asked a lot of questions, and it was very hard for me to make the change because obviously with change is more research, more questions, learning a whole new product, and that in itself is just a whole bunch of things to do. And I did not know if I was up for it, but I did the research and decided I'm going to give this a try, especially when they told me I could have it for 30 days and still change back. The one thing about Medicare, which was very interesting in the government's infinite wisdom, in order to get a pump through the government, Medicare, or probably Medicaid as well, is they say you have to test your sugars 4 times a day and submit your numbers to them in order to be eligible for the pump. But Medicare only allows you 3 test strips a day in order to be eligible to test your blood sugars. Well, how are you going to get 4 numbers a day on 3 test strips? Well, fortunately, from when I was still on my regular insurance, I had been testing 4 to 6 times a day, so I had enough test strips in order to test 4 times a day, and then I submitted my numbers and I was eligible for the pump. So I switched to the Tandem T-Slim, and on another video in the future on my channel, I will go into the pros and cons of the Mini Med versus the T-Slim, but by far I love the T-Slim so much better. And I will tell you that the Dexcom CGM is far superior to what I had on the Mini Med because it is far more accurate, at least for me. But the T-Slim is much thinner, it's much lighter weight, it fits in my bra much easier, and it's just in itself, being lighter weight, is just much more comfortable to wear on a daily basis. And I love the T-Slim, and the CGM is much more accurate for me. Maybe for other people it's different, but for me, I find that it's much more accurate, and I just love using it. There are some pros and cons, as I said, that I will go into at a later date and tell you about that. But one of the things that I did find with Medicare in particular, and it's probably like this in other insurances, is that you only get a 90-day supply with each order. And because you get a 90-day supply, when you get your infusion sets and you have exactly enough for 90 days, and Medicare is not going to ship your next order early, that you have to have enough infusion sets to get you through that period and still have enough before your next order comes in. So what I do is not something I generally recommend, and here's where I'll tell you that anything I say, I am not a doctor, an endocrinologist, a nurse practitioner, even a nurse. All I am is an insulin user. So nothing I say here is medical advice. You can ask your doctor how to do this, or if to do it, if not to do it, whatever. But what I did is, in the beginning, I hoarded a little bit and I used my supplies. I didn't change my infusion sets for 4 days so that I could kind of hoard my infusion sets for a little while so that I'd have extras to get me through that period, so that just in case I ran out, I would have enough left over while I was hoarding them. And then I went back to changing my infusion sets every 3 days, because those sites do get worn out, and then your insulin, I don't think, gets transferred into your body as well, and it will make your numbers run a little bit higher, or at least that's what I think. So I don't suggest doing it for any length of time, but in the beginning, that's how I hoarded. As for your sensors, there is no way to really make those last longer. When they are done, they're done. But if you get a CAT scan, an MRI, or an X-ray, and it's in the middle of your 10-day cycle, and by the way, most sensors, at least in my experience, not most, I should say many, do not last a full 10 days. By day 8 and 9, sometimes they'll start going a little kaflooey, and they're not accurate anymore. But if you do have one of those tests in that 10-day period, you can call Dexcom and say, I had a procedure done and I had to take off my sensor, and they will send you another sensor for free. And also, if your sensor does not last the full 10 days and you let them know, they again will send you another sensor free of charge. And with that, that will help you last more than your 90-day period of time to get your sensors to last longer, so that when you do have your 90-day supply run out, at least you are getting a longer period of time. And at this time, I'm going to take a little break and tell you, please, again, down below this channel, like and subscribe to my channel. That will help me, and it will help you, so that you can come back and visit me more often and get some of the tips that I'm giving you that I didn't find anyplace else other than through my research, because up until right now, within the last year and a half, I went through 6 endocrinologists who weren't worth a penny. They really gave me no information. I've had them yell at me. I've waited in waiting rooms for 2.5 hours while I had low blood sugars. They were just horrible. So until my current one, who is the best, she's wonderful and has an amazing staff, I didn't get any great information. One of the tips that I got through this endocrinologist, which was amazing, was that I was always spiking after having breakfast. I'd have cereal and I'd look at the carbohydrate level on the box, and I'd give myself the exact dose of insulin that it said I should give for that amount of carbohydrates. But in the middle, I would go, whoa, like that on my carbohydrates, and my insulin would spike, and I couldn't figure out why. And I did call the diabetes educator in my office, and he was terrific, and he said, well, even though it says high in fiber, it's really not. They strip all the fiber out unless you're doing cold cut steel oatmeal. You're not getting really high fiber cereal, and you have to have a protein or a fat with that cereal. So that could be an egg, it could be peanut butter, it could be cheese, it could be some kind of meat, something like that, that will help your pancreas know that there's something else coming in with that cereal to keep your sugar leveled out. And that's what I do. I have a spoonful of peanut butter with the cereal. I don't even eat breakfast anymore. And I've had endocrinologists yell at me. My current endocrinologist says, it works for you. Don't worry about it. You're fine not having breakfast. And I don't have breakfast anymore. Again, that's not medical advice. I'm not telling you not to do that. But at 67, it works for me to not have breakfast, so I don't. But I now, if I do happen to have a bowl of cereal at any time during the day, I have a spoonful of peanut butter. I take the amount of insulin according to the carbohydrates on the box, and my sugar runs perfectly normal. So that's just a tip of something that worked for me. It may work for you. I wish you luck. Please come back. Look for me for more advice. After 30 years of being diabetic, it took me so long to get all this information. I hope the things I pass along to you will work for you. I wish you luck. Keep your numbers low. Hang in there. It's a hard disease, but we can fight it if we do it together. I look forward to giving you more information. Keep the numbers low. Thanks for coming. It's Just Ask Sheri. I have an email at justasksheri@gmail.com. Put your comments in. I'll review them, hopefully answer them on future channels that we come to, and I look forward to working with you. Thanks so much. Just Ask Sheri. Thanks for your time.